special episode of In Touch with iOS number 422, the podcast that keeps you connected to the ever-changing Apple ecosystem. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. Each week, we break down the latest news, updates, tips, and hidden app features across iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, Vision Pro, and Apple TV, all with insights from friends, experts, and the Apple community, because here we read the release notes so you don't have to. So, this is a very special episode this week. I'm honored to be able to have here this week Don McAllister. How you doing, Don? It's so great to see you. It's been like forever.
I'm good, Dave. Yeah, it has been a long time indeed. But sort of semi-retired now. But I've come out of semi-retirement to come in and have a chat to you guys.
Yeah, I really look forward to it. For those of you who may not know, Don is the founder of Screencasts Online, the original premium Apple tutorial platforms that helped Mac, iPhone, and iPad users for nearly 2 decades. I remember meeting you virtually, and we had I jumped on Screencasts Online right away, and I loved your tutorials because I loved giving them. And surprisingly, I never did any tutorials for Screencasts, and I probably should have, but because I did so many of them myself. But yeah, I really supported your team there, and it was a really great thing for what you did, and now, like you said, you started a new chapter. You sold Screencasts Online to Lee Garrett. He's doing an absolutely remarkable job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to try to get him on one of these days too. I know it's times challenges too, so we really wanted to bring you on here because you started a new chapter. This is a pretty fascinating app called the Wedding Player. And this was the app that was specifically making wedding ceremony music reliable, simple, and honest. Panic proof, right? So
that's right.
So let's go ahead and dig in here. So before we dig into the Wedding Player app, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Screencast Online because so many people in the Apple community kind of grew up watching your tutorials. As kind of a little history for everybody, started back in 2005, incredibly early in the podcasting and online video creation, that's for sure. And did you imagine where it would come when it did?
Yeah, well, I mean, podcasting in general has taken me a bit by surprise because it really has sort of, taken off. It's very much a mainstream media thing now, whereas in the early days, I mean, it was in its infancy when I first sort of started it. And again, the background story was that I wanted to do a Mac podcast originally. I just wanted to do like an audio Mac podcast. Adam Christensen was doing one, and I thought, well, that's a great idea. And then I sort of got a domain name, and I got all the gear, and sort of sat down to record my first episode, and then realised I didn't really have much to talk about. So that
hasn't stopped any of us.
No, it hasn't.
But I'm sure there's a use for this technology because I was fascinated by being able to broadcast from your living room or from your home studio or whatever. And then I was quite early to the Mac then. I'd just bought a Mac Mini 3 or 4 months before, and I'd really got into the Mac, and I sort of persuaded one of my relatives to also get a Mac, but she lived 25, 30 miles away, so I couldn't really show her. So I thought I'd sit down and record a couple of videos for her, and one thing led to another, and I thought, well, this I could actually, not just audio, I could actually deliver video as a podcast, and that sort of led into Screencasts Online. So it started off very much as a hobby. I got a great reaction, and and then I sort of realised it wasn't an overnight thing. It took 6 to 9 months before I realised that perhaps I could start to make some extra cash and then make a living from it in the end. And in the end, I converted it to a full-time business. So
you sure did. Was there ever that moment when you ever realised that this really became a business? You obviously, it seems like you did.
Yeah, well, I to be honest, I always didn't like charging people for content because it was all free initially.
It was,
everything was free, and then I sort of thought of ways to add value to people. So I started to look at high definition video, which at the time, back in in 2005. It was, could people actually have the bandwidth to download high resolution video? And they could. So I spent a lot of time sort of trying to compress it and make it easy to deliver. And then just gradually, more and more people sort of came on board, and I started to move away from just doing all free content to mainly free content, and then 50-50 free content, and then 75%. Yeah. But I always did put free content out, but over probably a year or so, it ended up being, mainly paid content.
Yeah. So, Jeff, any things you want to add about Screencasts Online? I mean, I'm sure you watched the videos and were part of Don's world of Screencasts Online.
Yes. The resource that you created, Don, turned out to be just invaluable to so many people, and absolutely love that. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went into this flying by the seat of your pants, rushing in where angels fear to tread. And was there any point along the way where you were like me, as when I first got into the podcasting space, where you're like, OMG, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
No, not really. If I'm perfectly honest, I mean, the great thing was, because I like tech, I liked Apple, I like the Mac. So, and of course, when I first started, it was just the Mac, basically. We had no iPhone, we had no iPads, no Apple Watches. It was just the Mac. I really enjoyed showing people how to do different things. And I loved the tech because, again, at the time, there were no real systems in place. Whereas now, it's very easy to spin up a WordPress site and create a membership system. It's dead easy. At the time, there was very, very little. So I was sort of cobbling it together as I went along. And I enjoyed that aspect of it as well, in making the systems and making it all flow. I was only talking to Lee a couple of days ago about, the current tools that are available with AI, etc. If I had a quarter of the things that we've got now as far as AI is concerned, oh my goodness, the difference it would have made, but in the early days, it was all pioneering stuff, and I really enjoyed it. And people have been great. I also had a great response to the content that I created, and and it wasn't a job really. It was a way of making money and doing something I enjoyed. And I'd spent a lot of time in corporate IT, so sort of working for myself and working from home. It was great. It's great freedom.
Working from home like that, the best way ever to cut through the corporate red tape.
Yeah,
yes,
very much so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm still in that corporate IT world. So 26 years later.
I have to say that I did treat it as a job, though, because I was very disciplined because, working from home, I'd start at 9:00 and I'd work right the way through till 5-6 o'clock and break for lunch and whatever. And it was great, because it was the only way really I could sort of discipline myself to do that. And I didn't mind doing that. That was fine.
Yeah. So, so again, you eventually decided to sell the business, and I was very pleased that you put it in, like we mentioned earlier, you're in very familiar hands with Lee Garrett. So he was already creating all those tutorials for you, and
that's right.
He did some amazing things for years. But that seems like that probably made the transition easier, knowing that the company and the community would continue with somebody who already understood the culture and the audience. Was that important to you when you wanted to decide to sell?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I've been doing it for just under 20 years, so it was a long stretch. And of course, over the time, I brought more people in to help out creating the content and also behind the scenes as well, which were, those people were invaluable. So there was like a small cohort of trusted people that I really enjoyed working with. And the strange thing with Lee is, with him being from the UK as well, we've both followed very similar career paths. Of course, he's 20 years younger than me. But over the course of our careers, we've both done similar things, contracting and working in corporate IT and project management, etc. So he's sort of like doing the same things I did, but 20 years behind. So it was a perfect opportunity because he's taken over roughly the same age I was when I started Screencasts Online. And he's got all the skill sets. He's an organizer. He creates fantastic content. I couldn't have left it in better hands, really. So that's been good. And I've not sort of walked away completely. I was still doing still doing some tutorials now and again. I do the monthly article which keeps people up to date with what I'm up to in the Screencasts Online magazine. So I still have some input into it, and I'm always there for him as well if he wants to ask any questions or bounce ideas off
for
me.
sure.
Yeah.
He's been doing just a knock-up job. It's been great. Jeff, did you want to add anything to this?
Dave, it's like you're reading my mind.
Oh yeah, we worked together for so long.
Don, when the transition happened, and you stepped back from the full day-to-day operations, when the news was coming out that you're stepping back, it would have been so easy to get really worried about the future of Screencasts Online, but since it was Lee taking over, it's like, this is great. This makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. In some ways, I was a bit disappointed that no one started screaming, and it just carried on. I'm sure I was missed, but we didn't get loads of people sort of leaving the service or anything. So it was a nice ordered, smooth transition from Lee taking over the operation. Yeah, it was good.
Well, the fact that no one was freaking out, to me, actually is the highest compliment for you.
Yeah,
because you had everything running so smoothly, and everyone, we all trust you so much.
Yes,
that so no pressure. But when it all came down and the transition happened, everyone knew you were handing off to the right person.
Yes.
Everything was already set up and running the way it needed to. You had handlers for Allison Sheridan, and so it was all fine. I love you, Allison.
We love you, Allison.
Yeah, we do. No, it was great. Couldn't have asked for a better transition, really. It's been good.
So I want to make sure we mentioned, I have vivid memories of remembering when I went to the first Mac stock. I don't think you were at the first one. I think you were at the second one.
I think I was at the second and third. And
I got to meet you for the very first time, and I was already watching your content before, and that was it was a thrill to meet you, and you were very, very gracious, very friendly, and I was still very wet under the ears becoming a podcaster, which that's what Mac Scott caused this whole thing here. So I literally became a podcaster that next year. So but it was great to have been kind of inspired what you were doing and learning how to do this stuff. I was involved with Mac user groups for many years as well, so I learned in that place. But yeah, you really did a bit of an inspiration for me to do what I'm doing today. This is now our 10th year of the show. So
really, wow!
Yeah,
congratulations. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So it's always good. I mean, the Mac community has always been great, and it's been one of the joys of doing Screencast Online to come over to the US, and of course we had Macworld, etc. Such a great community of people. It was a blast, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's
times.
Go ahead and what the really interesting thing that's happening for you now is your next chapter here that you decided to do. Wedding Player is obviously very different from Screencasts Online, and what I love is the fact that it didn't come from just a startup brainstorming session. It came from your daughter Nicola's wedding, and that was pretty awesome. Tell us how that started. Tell us how it started.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never really developed apps before. I mean, we have the Screencast Online mobile app, which allows people to, download the tutorials, etc. And I was heavily involved in designing that originally. It's going back probably 6 or 7 years ago now. We had to get a designer in Simon, a guy called Simon Wolf, who actually designed it and built it. But I had some hands-on sort of getting it through the App Store, which was, a whole. I could take up a full episode of the trials and tribulations of getting stuff into the App Store and pass through. So I had some experience of the app, but back about 18 months ago, Nicola decided she was getting married to Alex, and she had some definite ideas of what she wanted to do with the music. So, of course, when the bridesmaids come in and when she comes in and then when they're signing the register and when they're going out, she had it all quite carefully planned in her mind. I'm not sure if everybody does it that way, but she had specific songs she wanted, and Alex did as well. Sure. And they also wanted the editing as well, because she wanted on a couple of the songs, she wanted the editing manually so that we didn't have a long intro or the intro came in at a certain point. We said, yeah, fine. So we got all the tracks together. And then I said, well, a bit nearer to the wedding, we'll sit down and we'll do the editing and we'll put it all together. I hadn't really thought about how I was going to play it, but I just assumed I'd just get Apple Music, create a playlist, and then very gingerly, stop and start it as and when we needed it. So anyway, 2 or 3 months before the wedding, we started to get all the songs together. We actually did a special thing as well, just as an aside. You probably don't know him in the States, but there's a 70s guy, pop star called Nick Kershaw, who I've always been a big fan of, and Nicola has grown up with his music, and we actually went to see him in concerts last year, and we managed to have a one-to-one with him, and so we thought it'd be nice to get an audio snippet of him wishing her and Alex, congratulations for the wedding, and tie that into one of the songs that the father and daughter dance that we were going to do. We actually put that on the front without telling her, so it was a big surprise. So I had this track all edited, ready to go, Nice. So when the time came to put it all together, I suddenly realized, well, Apple Music is great on the Mac. You can do lots with Apple Music on the Mac. But actually on the iPhone, it's quite difficult to get MP3 files in there, edited MP3 files into Apple Music reliably and synchronize it with the iPhone, which came as a bit of a shock to me, really. I thought, how am I going to do this? Because I was finding real problems. And, I'm used to Apple Music. I'm used to the Apple ecosystem. And I was struggling trying to get this together.
Yeah.
So I just thought, with all this AI technology we've got now, there must be a simple solution. I can just put something together,
Yes,
and basically
famous last words.
Yeah. So I sat down and scratched my head and worked out what I wanted to do. So basically, I wanted a player that had sort of like specific playlists for each moment of the occasion. So walking down the aisle, a song would play, and then when she got to the end of the aisle, we would just hit a button that would fade out, and it would line up for the next bit, which would be signing the register. And that gap could be as long as it takes. And then when it was ready, we'd press another button, that would play, and then at the end of that particular moment, we'd hit another button and it would fade out. And similarly for the last bit. So I managed to put together a dedicated app to do that, and it wasn't that difficult, to be honest, because it was for a specific occasion. I knew exactly what songs I wanted, and put it together, created the app, and took it along to the ceremony. Fingers crossed. Gave it to the venue because, of course, being father of a bride, I had to walk her down the aisle, so I couldn't actually stand there with my iPhone and stop and start it. So I gave it to the venue coordinator, and just explained, just tap that button. It's just a single button. Tap it for each part of the ceremony, and tap it again. It'll fade out. And it all works. It works splendidly. So at the end of the ceremony, the ceremony organizer came over and said, "Can we have a copy of your app, please? Because it's fantastic. It's just exactly what we want, because we're always fiddling with CDs and playlists, and it's a real pain point for wedding venues to actually play the music." So that sort of got me thinking, because I couldn't actually give her the app that I'd created because it was specifically done for Nicola's wedding. But I thought, well, if I spend a bit more time, a bit more energy, and sort of make it a bit more customizable for other people, it might actually be useful for people. So about 3 weeks later, after lots of head scratching and coding, I ended up with the basic version of Wedding Player.
That's great.
That's super
great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, go
Okay,
ahead.
so it sounds like you went into this with the whole crap. I have a problem, but I'm smart enough to make a solution, and you did, and it worked, and of course it did, and then after everything was done, where you could like stop and catch your breath, at that point, when someone approached you and said, "Hey, can we have your app so we can use it here?" That's when you're like, "Oh, wait a second, maybe this is a marketable thing."
Yeah, the light bulb went off basically, because and I think you mentioned, Jeff, on the last show when you were talking about Wedding Player, that it could be used for other things, not just weddings. And I deliberately just decided to keep it for weddings to begin with, to sort of market it that way. But over time I'll probably expand it to other types of events and stuff. But but I started thinking, well, if someone just came in from cold, what would they need? Because in the original version it didn't have Apple Music integration. And I thought, well, how easy is it to integrate Apple Music with an app? And it turns out with Music Kit, it's quite straightforward.
Oh, nice.
So, I was able to put Apple Music into the app itself. So you don't have to worry about ripping MP3 files or ripping CDs and stuff. You can just link it up with Apple Music, and you can download the Apple Music tracks to the device and be completely offline, so that when you get to the ceremony, you don't have to worry about streaming or Wi-Fi. It's all actually on the device. And I sort of got a bit paranoid about building in some tools to make sure that you can do like a pre-flight check before the ceremony to make sure everything's downloaded, and it will flag up if there's any problems with the tracks that you've downloaded, stuff like that.
That's smart.
So there's a lot of thought have gone in. It's a very simple concept, but because it's such a high risk thing, obviously the last thing I'd want to do is for someone's wedding to be interrupted by the app going wrong. I really focused on making sure that it was as rock solid as it could possibly be, and built in all those safeguards around it as well. So simple premise, but it's quite complex in the background as to what it's actually doing.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised this wasn't already a thing that people were paying a fortune for.
Yeah, it's there's not. I think there's only one other app which is similar. Most of the apps in this sort of genre are aimed at DJs. So if you have a DJ running a wedding ceremony, but again, not specifically for the ceremony itself. It's mainly for the evening reception, stuff like that. So yeah, I was quite surprised that there was nothing there, which was the reason that I thought, well, best go ahead and make it then if no one else is doing it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump in a little bit of the features and design of it. I thought one of the features I thought was really incredibly clever was the go live mode. How did that work and become that clearly much more than just a playlist app?
Yeah, well, it basically takes you through the structure. There's a rehearsal mode whereby you can go in and audition tracks, and you can download stuff from Apple Music. If you have your own MP3 files on your device, you can use them as well. And there's another feature as well which I'll come on to. But basically, in rehearsal mode, you can set up your moments. So as I mentioned before, the moment can be any part of the ceremony. So you create a moment which is like an empty playlist for that moment, and then you just add individual tracks into each moment. It could be a single track that you might want to loop. So there's a loop facility as well. So if you don't know how long a particular segment is going to last, you can just switch it to loop, and it'll just loop indefinitely until you fade it out. You can have multi-track moments as well. So if there is 4 or 5 songs that you want to play in sequence, they will just play. But what I wanted to make sure is that during the ceremony itself, it was sort of literally idiot proof. So within Go Live mode, I've included a new release, which has literally just come out today, 2.1.3, I think it is. There's a pre-flight checklist that it reminds you to make sure that you've got airplane mode on, to make sure that it reminds you to put Do Not Disturb on. It checks that all the media that's in the playlists in the moments is actually downloaded to the device. And then it drops you, once you've gone through all those checks, you're in Go Live mode. And I've taken away all the editing features from that point on. And I've also made sure that you can't actually just, tap something by mistake to make it jump to the next track or to another moment. So everything is sort of gated so that if you do hit while it's playing, if you hit another moment, it will come up with a prompt. Are you really sure you want to, is this a mistake, basically? So I've tried to make the ceremony bit, the Go Live bit, sort of very few features, but just concentrate on the playback. So it's mainly just the play button and the fade button are the two things that are enabled.
All right. Well, I just downloaded the update right now, so I'm ready to go.
Right.
2.1.3, and I saw all your. That's great, and that's one of the things with app developers. This is amazing. You just went through a great narrative of what you added and what you changed, because some of them are just bug fixes, and they're always the.
Oh yeah.
I really love this. This is really well thought out.
It's one of those. It was one of those things whereby because it only came out. I mean, Nicola's wedding was at the end of March,
right?
And I think the app actually the fully or the first version of the public app came out sort of like the middle of April. But since then, I've been having lots of ideas and wanting to expand it. Yeah, so I'm sort of having to hold myself back a little bit because there's a lot more still I can put in it. But you've got to draw the line somewhere and get the releases out there.
Yeah, and
so yeah.
And then the other thing I really love the fact is that you have the app works offline. I think that was incredibly smart. I mean, because you can never rely on Wi-Fi. We know this for a fact. It is very unpredictable, and you don't know. And that's why I would, even when I would set up presentations in the corporate world, I'd say nope. If you want to use a YouTube video, let's download it and put it right into the presentation. So the same thing with this. I mean, because you download the music from Apple Music. It's on local, you don't have to worry about it, and then have it ready to go and all queued up. And I think that was a great thing. I'm assuming that this was just a not negotiable. You had to do this, right?
Yeah, it had to be an offline service. And one of the other things as well is that there is a technical barrier for people to actually get music onto their device, which Apple Music takes that barrier away. But again, not everybody's got an Apple Music subscription.
That's true.
So I had to think, well, how can I make it easy for people to actually get their own music on there, or public domain music, get it on the phone if they don't want to go down the Apple subscription route? And it's not easy. It's doable, but it's not easy. So I thought, well, what I will do then in that case is also include a separate catalogue of music, which I've just sort of branded Wedding Player Originals. And basically these are, at the moment, 35 tracks of sort of wedding type music that you can it's actually supplied with the app. They're not downloaded. You can go on and preview them, and if there are any tracks on there that you want to use, you can just download them for free and use them within the app. So if you haven't got an Apple Music subscription and you're technically challenged with trying to get your own music on, you can use this catalogue of 35 tracks to build up the ceremony as well, which seems to work very well.
Yeah, I downloaded them all, so I just have as a sample.
Oh, right, okay.
I just, I'm really one of filling out your app here. I mean, I've been married for a long time, so I'm not getting married anytime soon. But I always can recommend it to any friends that decide to get married. And most of my friends and family are all pretty much married at this point. But it fascinated me how you did that, and that's great. They're royalty-free songs, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was at a wedding fair a couple of days ago because I'm because I'm new to the wedding industry. It's fascinating. I didn't realize how big an industry it was. It's huge,
$1 billion,
absolutely huge.
$1 billion industry.
And I was at a local wedding fair just to as a networking thing, really. And I met a magician there who's he does weddings. He's a magician, and he was looking at the app. He said, "I could actually use this." Because in my set, because I have corporate shows and I have wedding shows, and this is a structured way of dealing with my set. And I thought, well, yeah, sure,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Jeff, go ahead, jump in here. What do you got on this?
Well, actually, I have a question that, Don, I don't know if you're prepared to answer this, and if it's something where you're like, we can't talk about stuff that we haven't announced. Totally fine. But I know there are people out there who are going to say, "Oh, this is so great," but I don't use Apple Music. My subscription service is Spotify.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that something that's in the works?
It's not, unfortunately, although I would like it. There are limitations to what you can do with Spotify, both technically but also legally as well. They don't allow you to use their music. You can, as I understand it, if you have a premium account with Spotify, you can download music to your device, but you can't play it through another app. You have to play it through Spotify itself. So in effect, you'd have to remote control Spotify, which there's some technical barriers there, but also I think there are some legal barriers as well as to what you can do with their particular tracks. I did fear that I might have a similar issue with Apple Music, but actually no. There's no limitations with the Apple Music, and you do actually download the track, and Music Kit does allow you to use the track in your own application, but there are some barriers to using that with Spotify. I hope they do, because as you say, not everyone's got an Apple Music subscription, so I will be tracking that and seeing if there are ways around doing it, but at the minute, no, not unfortunately not. No.
Well, that makes sense, and especially with that great explanation of why.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a Spotify issue, not a Dawn issue. Because there's Apple Music integration. You can import your own ripped music files.
Yeah.
And you can download your own royalty-free music that you've made available. So there's plenty of options.
Oh,
there is.
yeah.
There is.
And of course, my favorite application, or one of my favorite applications, is Audio Hijack.
Oh,
which, of course, I can't promote, but if
you can,
if
because
people
Allison loves it.
people,
Allison will tell you all about it and then some.
Yeah. No, Audio Hijack is if you're not technically challenged, even if you are technically challenged, it's so simple to use. But
it is.
That is something I can't promote or endorse, but that's another option as well.
Say, shout out to Rogue Amoeba. They make great software. I don't mind promoting it. I own every piece of software they make. So,
yeah, same.
I noticed there was a lot of nice touches to the real world thinking of it. You did some oversized buttons, which was nice, and the fade controls and the accidental tap protection. I think that was really nice.
Yeah,
and the battery warnings, the warning if you're using your phone and the battery's getting a little low, you want to bring external battery to uncharge it. It does feel like the software is built by someone who understands a live event stress. You kind of experienced it.
One thing did trip me up though with the first version, which I'll come clean on, and that was I use I think it's one of the Pro Max phones, so it's quite a nice big size phone, So I sort of tested it on there.
I'm always
yeah, and it looks great, because I've spent a lot of time designing it nicely, and anyway, I sent it out into the world before we released it, actually. So some beta testers and someone came back saying, I can't see the playlist. So the playlists, so what do you mean you can't see the playlist? So I had a look, and basically they use the oversized text. So,
sure.
Yeah, once you switch that on, the whole UI just went boom, just blew out, because it wasn't engineered to use oversized text. So I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to get around this? But again, there are mechanisms and techniques built into Xcode that allow you to sort of override. It's still large text, but it enables you to design the app so that it doesn't actually spoil the interface. So it's all protected now, so that if people do use smaller phones with large text, it still works on those phones as well, which is great. But that did give me a thing. How am I going to get around this? But no, it's all built into Xcode, so it can handle it. As long as you know to tell it what to do.
This is why we say don't install beta software on mission critical devices.
It's exactly why we say
that.
Yeah. And we say that all the time on the show. Going back to Apple Music real quick, when the song downloads, I believe my understanding is it downloads like you're creating your playlist or songs that are downloaded in Apple Music, and then the app pulls the music to play it. Is that how you designed it, or is it something else differently?
Yeah, you don't really get to see the music. It will download it in Apple Music, so you can play it through Apple Music if you want, and then the app actually interfaces with Apple Music,
right?
And can actually play the track from within Apple Music. So it's quite nice, actually. One of the mechanisms I've built in to make sure that the song is downloaded is that it will actually create a wedding playlist in Apple Music. So all the tracks that you've built into your moments, you can actually switch across to Apple Music and see them in a single playlist, and make sure everything's downloaded at that point as well, so you can download them all in a single playlist. Yeah, but of course you don't have the benefits. Well, you might say, well, what's the point then? Because if you've got a playlist in Apple Music, why don't you just use that? Well, it's not segmented into the different moments, and you don't have the fade capabilities, and you don't have the sort of idiot-proof controls and stuff. So Wedding Play is like a wrapper around the Apple Music playlist, in effect, that it builds.
Yeah, and you made the buttons really nice with where it says add originals, add Apple Music, and then you add your local files. So that interface is really nice when it comes to that. So, and I was impressed that you dabbled and jumped right into Android, and it was my pleasure to be able to at least try to. I know you were I said I had an Android device, which I do, of course, because I'm crazy. I own everything. I would jump in and try to explore both interfaces side by side, which I did. And unfortunately, at first you didn't realize you had to open it up to beyond the UK. So
yes, it was weird because I had no plans to do an Android version.
Okay.
But again, I went to a local. Again, I'm just trying to sort of reach out to various people within the wedding industry to understand what they need and how they do it. So within Liverpool, there's a Liverpool wedding network, and they have. Nice. Just get just a coffee afternoon to chat and whatever. So I went along to see what was what, and I took some promo codes as well so I could give them out. And when I got there, I realized half the people in the audience were actually Android users, and I thought, oh, well, that's a bit of a shock. I sort of coming from the Apple background, you don't sort of. I just assumed everyone would be. Well, obviously, not everyone would be Apple users, but,
but
the vast majority. Yeah, well, but no, at least half of them were Android users, and I thought, well, that's half the market gone. So I really need to look at doing an Android version.
You got it done quick.
Well, yeah. The weird thing is because I'm using AI to do it, I sort of got it to make a plan and say how long is it going to take to actually create this Android version, and I said, it's about 14 weeks. About 14 weeks to do a full implementation plan and convert and whatever. And 2 weeks of that is you learning how to do this and this and this.
Sure.
I said, nah, it's not going to take that long. So it was literally done within 4 days.
Oh, beautiful.
Honestly,
awesome.
just
wow.
Yeah, just unbelievable. But again, it's nice because I could get the spec. I could once I had the iOS app, I could get it to generate the spec. So, right, we're going to make an Android version of this, create a spec that I can give to an Android developer, and it would create the spec. And then I would say to it, right, you're now an Android developer, here's the spec, go away and create the Android version, which worked great to get the core functionality in. But like I've spent all day today on this 2.1.3 version of the iOS app to get that parity with the latest version of Android. I've literally had to go through every single screen and babysit it and make sure that all the features that I've put in the iOS app are now in the Android app as well. Because it will do it to a certain level, but to make sure that it's true parity, you have to sort of babysit it and tell it what it's missed and stuff like that. So that's been quite an exercise, but it's remarkably quick to do, to be honest.
That's great. What's your AI flavor of choice that you use?
I use Claude.
I figured. I knew it was going to say Claude.
That makes sense.
With the coding it does, it's very good.
Yeah. No, it's very. I've been blown away. I mean, I've literally since January when I first sort of started using AI properly, I've been completely blown away with the capabilities of it. And how it expands things and. Just the opportunity it gives people. So before doing the app, I was doing lots of other things, building home systems, finance systems at home, and just really sort of finding my feet with AI in itself. It's something that I now use every day, and not just and I think a lot of people use it as like a chat bot type thing, asking it questions. Whereas I think the main use is to build things with it. It's super easy to build really complex systems with it. So I've been getting into that quite a lot.
Yeah, I figured that had to help you a lot. I mean, I've been very side to ChatGPT. I've been using that most of the time for my everyday stuff. Work, I have to deal with Copilot, unfortunately, because corporate Microsoft say no more.
Yeah.
But you know what? Copilot has its place too when it comes to the programming and such, because I tell you, in the business world, it makes life easy with Copilot in a lot of ways. But I haven't done anything really with development in it. So I've got all three to my actually Gemini too. I have four of those.
Yes.
You're out of control, Dave.
I'm out of control. Well, Gemini was part of my workspace package, but I am paying for Claude and ChatGPT. Work, I get Copilot, and I have a small plan with my Office or Microsoft 365 subscription. So, but no, that's amazing that you were able to do that and pull that off, because it's pretty incredible with the understanding Android. And I don't understand Android anywhere as much as you do. So,
I mean, I must admit, it's been quite an eye opener, because I've not really used Android before. So even just navigating the phone, because I went out and bought an Android phone so I could test it properly. Because you do get an emulator on screen, but you need to test it on device. And I've actually just ordered an Android tablet, because when I was doing the Android work today, I said, well, how does this work with a tablet? And you have to build the tablet side of it, because if you don't, I think they obviously they won't publish it on the tablet store but they also downgrade your app if you haven't got a tablet version as well. So so we'll have we'll have a tablet version probably by the end of tomorrow, the speed it goes.
Nice.
But
I did not explore the iPad. Did you specifically design it for iPad as well?
It is available on the iPad. Yeah, it's pretty much it's exactly the same functionality, but obviously with a larger screen, we have, instead of having all the tracks below, the tracks are in a sidebar.
Okay,
so it looks really nice on the iPad. Yeah. Because I think venues will probably want to use an iPad,
100%.
Because I want to extend the venue side of it. So basically, there's two licenses. Basically, there's a license for couples who are planning their own wedding.
Right.
They're going to use it for 6 months before the wedding and have the rehearsal mode, and then use it for the ceremony. And then they probably won't use it much after that. I mean, they still might use it later on for birthday parties and doing their vows and whatever. Sure. But there's a singular net purchase for couples, which I've priced at $7.99. So a one-off payment, and it's yours forever. You have to
nothing.
Yeah, there's no subscription or anything. So that's the couples version, and then there's a version which I've called the wedding professional version, which is aimed at venues, aimed at celebrants, aimed at officiants of weddings who do multiple weddings. They might do a wedding every week or whatever. And so I've at the moment built in a reset feature in there. So you can see there that's $49.99, an annual subscription. Which again is nothing for someone who's doing
that pays itself.
That's
in their first wedding.
So that's got a reset feature in there so that they can just clear it out and start again with the next wedding. I'm hoping to extend that to sort of like manage multiple weddings and just build it out into a more pro package really. So that's another thought I've sort of.
You just answered one of the questions I was going to throw at you.
Oh, go on.
If you're doing this professionally. You don't have just one wedding that you have to manage. So being able to have multiple weddings set up in there, it totally makes sense. So
just switch
that's
between
on the way.
Yeah, that's on the way. Yeah, and also things like if there's no iCloud syncing in there as yet, but it would be useful if you've got an iPad and an iPhone. If you want to keep your iPhone but take your iPad to the ceremony, you should be able to do an iCloud sync so that everything's synced up. So you've got your two devices. So that's sort of in the works. And then also in the future, it could be that you sync your iPhone or you transfer your information from your iPhone to a venue's iPad. So there's sort of cross-device synchronization, stuff like that. So lots of things that I don't want to make it too complicated.
No,
but I can see lots of ways of making it. Yeah, it makes it fun for me, and I think it's it would be genuinely useful for people as well.
Were you looking at all with the Mac? I mean, I dabbled with it because you did allow it to be able to use the iPad version of it on a Mac, but it wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't as it crashed a couple times, which I kind of tended to expect.
I sort of no. That's again on the roadmap to do a proper Mac version, but I think I'm not sure how many people, because initially it is aimed mainly at couples. People probably aren't going to take their Mac along, because there was a few technical issues with actually porting it across to the Mac as well. So I thought, get it out the door. We'll do it on iOS first. And
maybe that's part of the Pro version.
Well, there you go. Could be. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add, Jeff?
It's okay. We could go on for hours.
No, we won't do that. It's late.
We won't do that. So instead, how about if I say, Don, I'm super impressed with what you've done here.
Oh, thank you.
And I know you, and I have very high expectations for everything you do. So for me to say, wow, I'm super impressed, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, good. No, thank you. Yeah, well, to be honest, I've put a lot of effort into making sure that it's it's robust, and it's good for people.
Absolutely.
I think I might have lost the stream. Oh, you're back. Sorry, I think I lost the stream for a second there.
Nope, we're here.
No, I just got boring for a second. That's all.
No, it all went. Yeah. So no, I put a lot of hours in, a lot of effort, because I don't want to. Well, actually, I don't like letting people down, so I want to make sure it's a good product, and people can rely on it.
But let's mention again. The couples version, you said it's one-time charge, $7.99, and that's a one-time for couples. And if professionals, we'll have a per year fee of $49.99. And why don't you tell everybody about where to go and what to look at for your website, as well as anything else where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. Well, the website is weddingplayer.app. And it's also available on the App Store. Just search for Wedding Player or Wedding Ceremony Music. But Wedding Player, as I say, it's the only app that actually does that particular function. So it comes up quite quickly. But yeah, they're the two main places. I mean, we've got, again, it's really interesting because it was Nicola's wedding that's actually started all this. So Nicola's actually been getting involved, so she's been doing some of the social media side of it for me. So we've got a little we've got a little Instagram account going, and we've been doing some TikTok videos. TikTok videos are taking off. So I think the couple that she did, I think she's got about 5,000 views or something, which is
holy cow! I better go
amazing.
check her out.
Yeah.
I want to see those.
Well, she's enjoying it because it's quite she's obviously she's a lot younger than me, so she knows what the kids like. But there's tons of wedding fail type videos, where people are walking down the aisle and the music stops or stuff like that. So she's found loads of those on YouTube, and she's sort of put a humorous spin on them, and it's quite funny. Some of the stuff's quite good. So she's doing that. So we'll probably do a bit more on that side of things. But again, it's all weddingplayer.app.
Maybe if it expands, you might end up on Screencasts Online. You might know somebody.
Well, yeah.
I was going to ask you who is doing the Screencast Online for
Wedding Platter app.
I will probably volunteer for that. I would
think so. I hope so.
But to be honest, I've wanted to get it to the version that's released today. I think I'd be quite happy to do a show on that. Yeah. So I need to get the Android. Another thing that surprised me is the Android release mechanism is more complex than the Apple one, which surprised me a lot. Yeah. Because with Apple, although it's quite a rigmarole to get it through the App Store, Android have a 2-week waiting period. Oof. So you have to have at least 12 people testing it for 2 weeks before they'll even consider putting it in the App Store, which I'd never heard of before. And of course I didn't realize. So for the first week or week and a half of having the Android version, I hadn't sort of put it out to testers. So I sort of lost that period. So I think we're down to about another 8 days before it can actually be released. So
that's right. Okay, so you didn't get enough there yet. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Glad I could be a small part of it for you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that.
For you. Yeah, absolutely.
Still good.
So, all right, great. And again, let everybody know where people can find you besides Wedding App.
Well, I'm still on X as Don McAllister. I think that's the only place I hang out these days. So yeah.
Great.
Just find me on there. Or you can always send me a message. Of course, we've got the weddingplayer.app domain, so don@weddingplayer.app if you want to email me. Or
all right.
That's more than welcome for people to do that.
All that in the show notes. So appreciate you being here. Jeff, let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, when I'm not apparently stalking Dawn, Jay Gamet on the various social medias, but mostly Mastodon, Pixelfin, and Blue Sky. Then for shows, all right, here we go. Tuesdays on Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live. Thursdays on your In Touch with iOS. Then for the British Tech Network, The Big Show and The Mac Show.
Yes.
Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine. Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch, and I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't tell everyone, hey, I revived my my old tech blog, so jeffgamet.com is out there now, and I revived my my coffee shop blog, so Fresh Brewed Tales is out there now too, again.
More stuff to follow.
Wow.
Well, it'd be wow. We're both busy.
Yeah.
Don, I have no life.
I'm sure you do.
So let me go ahead and close out real quick here. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon at In Touch with iOS. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. And You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. You also can follow our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. We usually stream on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our show. And I have our occasional guests here, which I was so thrilled to have you here this week, Don. And where you can find me is well, here's my list here, Don. It's I do the Neo Notebook with Marty and Eric. We just talk about the MacBook Neo. That's on Sunday nights, Monday nights, which actually tonight after we're recording this show at 8 p.m. Eastern is the Vision Profiles podcast, since I have a Vision Pro, and we do that. And then Tuesday nights, like Jeff mentioned, in Mac Voices Live. Thursdays we record the show normally, and then Fridays we're keeping the Mac show alive here, and we've been doing it for many years after you just have left it, and that's at the British Tech Network. So having a lot of fun, lots of podcasts, but we enjoy doing it. And plus, I can't forget to mention MacStock, MacStockConference.com. Go there. You can go and check it out. David Pogue's going to be at MacStock this year. He's going to be speaking as well, doing an evening with David Pogue and have his amazing entertainment, because he is really a very entertaining guy. I'm speaking, Jeff speaking, Chuck Joyner speaking, and all our friends, Dave Hamilton. We got the whole crew's coming. Doc Rock, Katie are going to be there because Ecamm is going to be there doing a conference the day before, which is the Ecamm Creator Camp Mac Edition the day before. So that's July 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So 3 days of MacStock, 1 day of Ecamm. But if you go to that website again, MacStockConference.com, and use the offer code INTOUCH, you save $50 from the price of admission. We can't wait. This is the 10th year for MacStock, along with my 10 years here in Touch with iOS. So we're having some great times to celebrate for having such a fun time all these years going on. So with that, thanks, Don, for being here. We hope you enjoyed this special episode, and we'll have another episode coming up this week, our normal show later this week. But until then, thanks again for listening and watching, and we'll talk again soon.